Hello guys, thank you very much for joining in. Hi, this is Girish Naik. I help finance professionals and students to excel in their career and also help and guide students who are preparing for the FRM and CFA exam. We have with us one of our students who's been able to clear the FRM Level 2 exam for the November 2022 attempt. This was his first attempt, and he's going to be sharing with us his journey, his way of preparation, what challenges he faced, and how he was able to clear the exam. So with this, let us start the discussion. We have with us Girish. First of all, Girish, thank you very much for joining with us and giving your time and talking to us. So we'll start with the first question. Girish, thank you very much, first of all, for joining and taking out time. And the first question that I have, or basically for an introduction of the audience, when did you give the level 1 exam? When did you started your preparation for level 2? And what is the overall work experience that you have?
Okay, so thank you for having me here. So I gave my level 1 exam in November 2019. So after my level 1 exam, immediately COVID outbreak happened, and uh, in 2020 we couldn't give exam, and in 2021 I decided that I also wanted to give some other exam. So I had given some other competitive exam. So yeah, so eventually I decided that I'll prepare for 2022 May exam, but the time for preparation was little less. So I consulted you at that point of time, and you told me that it would be better if I, prepare a little better and give myself more time so that I can get well versed with the syllabus. So that's when you told me that I should rather appear for November, because since I was also working at that point of time, I wouldn't get enough time to prepare the way I should. So that's why I decided I would give my exam in November 2022. So yeah, this was my first attempt, and I cleared my first attempt for both the exams. So
Okay.
uh, so education, work-wise, I have a total work experience of around 10 years now. So currently, I'm working in Deutsche Bank as a market risk analyst. So yeah, this is about me.
And when did you started for the November exam properly? So giving each day and
So
night, something like that.
so I'll just take a step back and I'll tell you a little story about this. So I thought I'll start preparing in November 2021. So I checked the syllabus. I tried reading it by myself a little bit, and then I realized that I wasn't, progressing to the way I would have liked to. So it was a bit slow at that point of time. So I decided that I'll seek some professional help, and that's when I contacted you. So once I started attending the classes, then I kind of started understanding that what needs to be learned, what needs to be, kept for later, and things like that, those final details. So yeah, so seriously, I would say probably in around April, yeah, around that time, I like seriously started. But I made sure that even if I wasn't, seriously preparing for exam, I would at least listen to all the lectures regularly and try to, at least get a first-hand reading. So I think it's very important that you at least read everything properly. Like what needs to be studied. So that is something that you should be very, thoroughly prepared with.
Okay. So you basically were part of the match that we started in January, mid or January end, something around that, right?
Yeah,
Around that.
yeah, around, I
So
think
you were
start
consistent,
of Feb.
start of Feb. So you were
Yeah, yeah,
consistent in your preparation.
yeah. So like I said, like I was attending most of the classes, and that's when at least I got to, be familiarized with all the topics. So it's very important that even if you don't, know everything inside out, but at least you have some familiarity. So when you actually start reading, it helps a little when you know that, okay, I have read this recently, or at least I have heard about it somewhere. So it definitely
Got it.
helps.
Okay. Okay. And then with respect to the solving, you started solving immediately, or you thought I'll complete everything and then I'll start solving?
No, I was solving, like when I was doing my first reading itself, I was like not actively solving like from different books. I was just passively solving like whatever questions were there at the back or Schwezer notes. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, if you don't test yourself, then reading, like, no matter how many times you read, you will end up forgetting everything.
Got it. And did you solve our question bank, chapter was question bank?
Yeah, so I solved the mock papers um, around say 1.5 months before the exam. So around that time, 1 month to 1.5 months. So
Okay.
because to be honest, like I did not want to pressurize myself. Like if I would have solved it before, and if I wouldn't have been able to, get like a lot of right answers or right questions, then it would have, unnecessarily put pressure on me. So that's why, I wanted to be 100% sure that at least I know something before I start solving.
So by October 1st, you started solving the chapter wise questions. But before that, how many times you had completed reading the session?
So, so 2 times before October. So overall, I had read the book 3 times. So I think that is the bare minimum everyone should read if they want to, seriously understand and grasp all the questions. But yeah, like I mentioned before, it's not very easy to read it 3 times, especially when you're working. So uh, before work and after work. So initially, like I said, in March, April, when I started, I was just keeping aside 1 hour for studies, either after work or before work. And as the time approached closer to exam, that time, both times I used to study like 1 hour before and 1 hour after. So that's how the preparation started.
Okay. Okay, got it. And then when you started solving the question bank, so you were able to consistently set again from October, or did you find that okay, the time is less because you have to solve a lot of chapters? How was this?
Uh, So, like, I was skimming through everything. I was solving like, I would be honest, I wasn't solving everything, but whatever I could, I was trying to solve. Like, during the lectures itself, right, we knew, like, what kind of questions can be asked. So, based on that, I kind of had some sense, like, these are the questions that need to be prepared for.
Okay, got it, got it. And then how many mock papers, the full length mock papers you solved for the exam?
Um, I would have liked to solve more, but I ended up solving 3 mock papers overall.
And that was time
Ideally, if someone, yeah, yeah, with
from
full like 4 hours, proper 4 hour exams, like not extending like your mock papers, proper mock papers.
okay. And what was the score that you
But
got?
ideally, so first exam was I think relatively easy in the mock papers. So I was getting like 70 something,
Wow.
60, 70, something like that. So then some difficult papers are getting 40, 50%. So that's when I realized that I should have studied a little more, or probably I should have, read a little more or attempted more questions. So yeah, no matter how much time you get, you end up feeling that I should have done more.
Okay, okay. And when you went to the exam day, were you confident
Mhm.
about clearing the exam? What was the status, mental status?
So I was a little confident when I had given the mock papers, but then again, when you are doing that final revision, that time you get a little bit nervous. Of course, like it's human to be nervous a little bit. So I was confident, but then again, I wasn't like 100% sure that okay, I am going to kill it today. So yeah, I was relatively confident, but then again, I was nervous as well, since a lot of people had mentioned that the exam is usually tougher. So yeah, I was nervous to be honest.
Okay. And so, like you mentioned, entire when before you went to the exam 3 times, you had properly seen the treasure. That was there, right?
Mhm.
Okay. When
Yeah.
you went to the exam, first 1 hour of solving, what was the status?
Uh, so my strategy was that in first hour, like whichever questions look familiar to me or which I've done recently, I would do that so that the start is good for me. So
Okay.
that's what the simple strategy was to start well. So first 1 hour, I was like, okay, I know some questions, so I'll start doing it. I took my time, and then I think then I started to realize that okay, these questions are taking a little longer. Like in first
So,
hour, I would have done like probably 17, 18 questions. And then I realized that, okay, maybe I'm lagging behind a little bit. So then I tried to pick up a little bit.
okay. But you were able to complete everything in that 4 hours. There was no confusion. There was no time
Uh,
issue.
So there was a little time constraint, because in last 15 minutes I had like 4 or 5 questions remaining, and then I realized that if I read the questions again, but I'd already seen the question, but I did not get enough time to solve them. So I thought I'll just have a look. I'll see if I can do it immediately. But then in last 15 minutes, you are in that state of like a little bit of mini panic. So then time you are like, okay, let's just uh, try and just do 1 or 2 questions which I can, solve confidently, and then rest 3, like I'll just take God's name and then solve whatever I can.
Okay. And what are the theory and what are the calculation bifurcation roughly?
So around 25 to 30% questions were numericals, and then rest was theory, from what I remember. And numericals were like 80% of the numericals were relatively straightforward. Like if you know all the formulas, then it would be easy. But the remaining 20% numericals were a bit challenging. Like even if you know the formula, then you would have to, you might get a little confused by the wordings of the question. So yeah, you have to like thoroughly practice. Only then you would be able to know. So those 20% I found like it was a bit challenging.
Okay. When you came out of the exam, was there any number in your mind that I would get this much out of 80?
So I was like, I know like 50% should be right ideally. That's what I was hoping for. And the rest 50%, I was like around 20 to 25% was like calculated guess, you can say. And then other 30% I was like, I wasn't sure like what I'd done. So yeah, 50% I was sure. Next 20% I was like, okay, this should be or this could be the right answer. And then honestly speaking, the rest 30% was like just guesswork.
Okay. And now what are the quartiles that you've got? We have already posted that on chat. So it is like
Yeah, yeah.
first book, first quartile, then 3, 2, 3, 3, 1. So if you look at the entire quartiles, so book 1 and book 3 were primarily good performances. You got first quartile and second quartile. The rest all the 3 books, you have credit, liquidity, investment, third quartile. So book 1 saved you primarily, and book 3 saved you for the exam.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
what
yeah.
you got first, yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so the reason is because I'm in market risk field, right? So
Okay.
that thing I
Got
took
you.
on my ego that I have to score first quartile and this.
Okay. And current issues, what did you write current issues properly? You got first quartile.
Yeah, so the thing was, everyone said that current issues is the most challenging book, and a lot of people fail because of current issues. So
Yes.
I put more emphasis on scoring first quartile in that, because a lot of people told me that if you don't get like top 2 quartile in current issues, then the probability of passing goes down. So that's why I paid more emphasis on current issues.
Okay. Wonderful. And now, if I ask you, give me 3 tips for any student who is preparing for level 2 exam, what would be that 3 tips?
First one has to be consistent, study regularly, don't keep things for and study like all the subjects. Don't think that okay, this is something very easy for me, then I'll do it in the end. You end up skipping it completely, because in the end the situation is like, okay, I have like 2 weeks remaining, I have 3 books left to study, and you go in that calculation mode that okay, next 4 days I'm going to study this book, next 4 days, and then something goes wrong, then your calculation goes, all over the place. So don't do it that way. Make sure that all your books get equal importance and equal, yeah, priority. And this is first step. And second would be study at least 3 times. That's what I would recommend. If you can study 4 times, then you will feel more confident. Yeah. Uh, Make notes as well, like whatever you're studying. Uh, this is something I started later, like I think around June or July. Okay, after the second reading I started, but I think in hindsight that I should have started making my own notes from the first reading itself, because when you study the formulas or notes in your own handwriting, it registers a little more faster. So
Okay.
yeah, I think if people do it that way, then it's better. It's my in personal opinion. People may vary in the way they study, because the thing is, after studying, for whoever is appearing for FRM has already studied for like 20, 21 years at least, so they know what works best for them. So you should play by your strength as well. So that's what I also try to do.
Okay.
And one last tip I would say is, uh, give as many exams as possible, as many mock tests as possible. Like, uh, three is the bare minimum, which I did, and I feel that I could have done two more. Because in level one, I'd actually done like four or five mock tests, and in level
Okay.
one, I prepared a little more. So in level two, probably I felt that I did not study the way I had studied in level one. So that was one of the reasons as well. So yeah, as a tip, I would say that make sure that you at least give 4 to 5 mock papers, just to not panic at the end.
The last day, on the day of the exam.
Yeah, yeah, or rather in the last week of the exam, because last week just goes by and like you wouldn't even realize like how the days are going.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. I mean, this conversation is going to be really helpful for a lot of students who are preparing for this now May and the August level 2 exam also, and they would be they'd be able to get their guidance, how the tips that you mentioned would definitely help them in their preparation. So thank you very much, Girish, for taking out time
Mm,
and
that-
talking to us and giving
Thank you,
insights on
thank
your
you.
journey. Thank you very much, Girish.
Yeah, I wish all the students best of luck for their future exams.